Hello, everyone. I am Leyland Simmons, the Director of Dance at the Harlem School of the Arts. Thank you so much for joining us for our final episode of our HSA at Home Dance Masters series. What a time it has been over these last 6 weeks. We started off with our first guest. And here we are now. I don't think I will ever forget this time. It has just been a time that has just been truly, truly unbelievable. Watching the conversations in our world, shift from focus being on the global pandemic, to now the conversation and the fight for for social justice, for Black and brown people. I'm really interested to see what will continue to transpire over the next few months, with everything taking place. But as I was saying earlier, thank you again for joining us for our last episode of our HSA at Home Dance Master series. We have a very special guest with us today. She was a principal ballerina with the Dance Theater of Harlem. She danced with Complexions Contemporary Ballet. She's also a dancer with Lines Contemporary Ballet in California, and a principal dancer with the Alvin, Ailey American Dance Theater. And now she is the new director of dance at the Juilliard School. She is a friend of mine, and we are so lucky to have her with us. She is the incomparable Alicia Graf Mack, and I'm going to log her in right now. She's coming. Gotta love technology. Alicia.
Hello.
Hey, Alicia.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm hanging in there. Every day is something different, but just trying to stay positive and
I know.
knowing that there will be a light at the end of the tunnel. I know, I believe it. I have to keep saying it.
Day by beautiful day.
Day by beautiful day.
I've been starting to live by the mantra that your joy is also a form of radical protest. So I've been trying to keep my spirit up, and I've been trying to stay as connected as I can with all of my students.
Yes.
I've had so many conversations with my husband and my family members and friends. I've had my sister circles
Yes.
Friday nights just to to be able to get the feelings out. But I think the prominent feeling is of joy. And that's kind of what I talked about in my little precursor to this.
Yes.
Is that, my dad is a community organizer. And he has been in that profession for his entire life. Over 50 years, he's been a community organizer.
Right.
And when I was younger, I didn't understand what he did. Basically, he's a community activist. And one of the key elements to being a community organizer or an activist is to maintain some of your anger.
Okay.
Because without the anger, it's hard to sustain the purpose, especially when you are someone who is powerless and is fighting for a seat at the table or fighting for power.
Right.
But what he did say is that you cannot sustain that fiery, hot orange and red part of the anger. Mm-hmm. You have to sustain that cool blue aspect of the fire, of the flame. Because in order to have longevity in this fight, you have to be able to hold that cool flame of anger. It can be underlying, but if it's always hot, that's it's hard to maintain even just for yourself,
Right.
So I have been really meditating on that mantra of maintaining your joy as part of your identity
Yeah.
and protest,
Yeah.
and also allowing that underlying anger not to be all consuming, but to allow those two feelings to live
Mm.
actively inside of you as you move forward.
Yes.
So, you know, I definitely haven't not found the balance yet,
Yeah.
but I'm working on it. I'm
Yeah.
working on it.
Yeah, it's so great to have, parents, who have that knowledge and that information, or just mentors or people, to share those type of, aspects around issues like what's going on today. I was talking to my mother the other day, just about how grateful I am to have had Black history in my home outside of just what I was learning at school. I'm on social media and I'm seeing people who, I'm hearing them, they're sharing how they didn't know what Juneteenth was, and they didn't know about, so many historical events that took place in this country, regarding, people of color, African Americans, and so we talk about the true history of this country. There's so much that just people, again, they don't know, and the power within the protest, and it's just so, I'm thinking something really positive will happen out of all of this in regards to policy changes. I'm believing that. I'm believing that every day. I'm hoping, and again, that's just my optimism and my positive thinking. We are in a crazy time right now, but this is the realities of the world that we're in, and we as artists, we're continuing to rise up and speak our truths through the work that we do, which is so needed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, what I've been speaking with my students about, and my colleagues who are also artists and dancers, is that, the work that is going to come out of this period is going to reflect, it's going to be a reflection of what we have been saying and what we are currently going through.
Right.
And that's exciting because that's what contemporary work is, right?
Yes.
It has to be, it should be able to say something.
Right.
And I remember, Judith Jamison, when she was the artistic director of the Ailey company, she would always say, Mr. Ailey created the company because we had something that we wanted to say. Yeah. And we said it. Yeah. And I think that still rings true for any artist, no matter what race or gender identity. You want to have a voice, and a strong and educated voice. Yes. So this is also a good time to, find those resources and dive back into those history books and make sure that you're not reading history from only one side. Yeah. But also making sure that when you're training, that you're training in all different ways, and so that you have a multifaceted, and you're a multilingual dancer.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I'm hoping after this, I'm hoping to see, changes within the dance community, but especially the ballet community. I'm seeing the posts on social media about their support and their solidarity for Black and brown, people and whatnot. But I'm really hoping that it's not just a post, but we really begin to see some changes. I mean, I always think about the article in the New York Times that was written years ago. I think it was "Where Are the Black Swans?" And I think you were in that article, you and a number of other ballerinas. And, I just always think about your story and how inspiring it has been. But to know that even you had those unfortunate doors that were shut in your face, and I mean, I'm just hoping that the ballet world begins to shift, and we start seeing things from not just one lens and one view. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I agree. And I will say that I'm always going to be the dreamer. Yeah. Me, hashtag dreamer, hashtag conqueror.
Yes.
I'm always going to be the dreamer, and I'm always going to be the optimist, also understanding reality, Yeah. But when you have people like you, Leyland, who are leading an amazing institution for dance, and other leaders who are now becoming artistic directors of major companies and schools, that's when you're really going to start to see the change, because you have someone who may have a different perspective that will allow our art form to move forward and reflect the communities in which we live.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
that's the positive.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to say I commend Damien Wetzel, for, you know, I mean, you have the credentials. When I found out that you were, appointed the new position, I screamed. I was like, yes. I was like, this is it. We need this, right? Just that visibility to see a woman, a Black woman, mixed race woman, leading the forefront of a major institution like this, like that is social justice. That speaks volumes, because from my knowledge, I mean, I'm probably wrong, but most of the directors that I have known directing the Juilliard Dance Department have mostly been white men. And I might be wrong, but from what I know, most of the history has been mostly white men. So I was talking to Ashley about this, and she was saying, part of the challenge, as we know, is like it's just the hiring and rehiring of the same people, which is usually white men. So it's so refreshing.
Yeah.
So refreshing.
Well, I have to say that the founder of the Juilliard Dance program was a white woman, and she was quite radical. She kind of set that tone.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to follow in her footsteps in some ways of saying, like, this is how we're moving forward. She had a very strong voice.
I love it.
But I think you're right, Leyland, in the sense that for us to move forward, we have to pull each other up. And so you can't continue to pull, the same type of people, because then who are you representing?
Who are you representing? Amen. Say that. So I guess I want to just get into a little bit of history about your journey, because, I mean, for many of our people watching, our HSA community, we have a program with music, theater, dance, and I know that our students are watching outside of just the dance department who might not be familiar with your journey. And, I want you just to share a little bit of your background of how you got started with dance and how you ended up here now.
Great. Yeah, I'll try to be very quick. I'm from Columbia, Maryland. I am one of 4 children in my family. My sister, Daisha, a lot of people who are watching, and some of our the HSA students took our DNA arts, and I see one of our DNA moms here.
Yes, DNA mom.
But anyway, so we grew up dancing. I came out of the womb dancing. I declared from the time I could speak that I wanted to be a ballerina. And I did not see, and no one ever told me that there were any barriers around being a little Black girl and wanting to be a ballerina, which was a good thing. I trained very seriously in classical ballet, and I also trained in modern and jazz. And yeah, pictures. Okay, that was my audition picture for SAB.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when you have to take your picture in Tandu and Alsacon, then you have to take your picture in Arabesque, in first Arabesque. I don't know if I've ever posted that one, but I'll post that one next for you. So when I was 13, I went to School of American Ballet. I went there for 2 summers, and then I went to American Ballet Theater for a summer. I also participated into international ballet competitions before there was YAGP. They were truly international competitions.
Right.
And when I was 17, in my senior year of high school, I was trying to decide between whether I was going to go further with the profession or if I was going to go to college. So my parents and we spoke about it extensively, and they knew my love for dance. They had invested so much time and money really into my training. So they agreed that if I landed a job that, I could kind of support myself, then that's the direction that I would go.
Yeah.
So in my senior year, I went to Dance of Harlem to take a class. I really wasn't going as an audition. One of my mentors said, why don't you go and try to meet Arthur Mitchell? So he arranged for me to come and take a class, a company class. And that's when I first met Arthur Mitchell. Of course, I knew who he was.
Right.
At that time, I just wanted to dance. I didn't care where, like whoever's going to take me, that's where I'm going to dance. And I had this huge worry, sort of chip on my shoulder, really, because of my height. Because on point, I'm well over 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
So most of the programs, summer programs that I attended, and people who coached me would say that is going to be the thing that's going to be really hard, because you're not going to fit into the core. Hi, Camille.
Hey, Camille.
Parsons. We grew up together in the same dance studio when we were young, me, Daisha, and Camille. And Camille also went on to a very successful career with Dance Studio Harlem.
Yes.
So yeah, I made my career at DTH. Mr. Mitchell took me into his company just a couple weeks later. So I finished high school through correspondence. And let's see what else happened. So I got injured. That's like such a big part of my story.
Yeah.
That I have an autoimmune disease called ankylosing spondylitis, which basically took me out of dance. I left Dance Studio Harlem when I was 21, and I didn't return to professional dancing until after maybe 25 or 26. So during that time, I decided that I was going to go to school because I couldn't dance. I couldn't support myself. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do and what my other talents were. And so I decided that I was going to be a college student and have like a regular life for once. I'd never known what it was to be like social. You know, I was so determined to have a successful career, and I was so determined when I was training that I didn't have like a social life. I never had a boyfriend. I never, you know, ate whatever I wanted to. Not that I am like all that healthy, but you know what I mean. Like when you're dancing, you always think about like I gotta get dressed and I have to do these things. So it was really nice. It was like 4 years of discovering who I am. Cool. And it was very hard. I would say I definitely hit a deep depression upon first learning of my injury and my disease. Yeah. But being in school really helped me to heal, because I got to learn so much more about the world and myself.
That's
and about
so important.
Those
Definitely.
Perspectives and various histories that we did not learn in high school.
Right.
You know. Yeah, but in my senior year, I started taking classes. My body was feeling a lot better. And actually, I returned that summer after I graduated to work with Complexions. Yes. And that's when we danced together, Leyland.
Yes, we danced together, yes. Complexions.
Yeah, we traveled, we toured the world together.
Yeah, toured the world.
And I fell back in love with dance. It's such a part of me, and I felt like if my body was going to be okay, that even if it lasted just for a year, that I was going to go for it, because now I had my degree and I had other interests. I had been working on Wall Street, and I knew the direction in which I wanted to go if I wasn't dancing. Yeah. So that was good. It kind of gave me a confidence that I did not have before. Right. And I was also very, very shy. Just to hear my voice was difficult for me. So when I started school, I thought I was going to flunk, because the undergraduate class at Columbia is very small. And so they only did like small seminars, basically. And I thought, I'm so afraid to even raise my hand. I was getting like heart palpitations just to raise my hand to answer a question, that I was going to fail out of these classes, because you have to speak, you know, you have to be a part of the discussion. So I took public speaking twice, once for credit, and then I audited once. Yeah. All this to say that I feel like I needed that time to grow as a person, not as a dancer. Yeah. So yeah, I joined Complexions. I had a wonderful time with them. And then I felt like I wanted to return to Dance Theater of Harlem and finish my career the way that I wanted to. And Mr. Mitchell welcomed me back with open arms, and I put those point shoes back on after 4 years. And I had a wonderful time with them. Unfortunately, it only lasted a year, because the company folded due to financial issues. And so I freelanced for a year with Complexions, and I filled in for an injured dancer at Lines. And then I got into Ailey.
Yes.
And I had 6 years with Ailey. I did have to take a break in the middle of those 6 years because of my disease. And during that time, I got a master's degree in nonprofit management with a focus in arts administration. And so I was starting to tie my love for business, for arts administration, and of course for dance. And I started teaching in St. Louis at a school called COCA, which is where now two of my brothers in dance, Antonio Douthat Boyd and Kervin Douthat Boyd, they run that dance program. At that time, they were not running the program. But in St. Louis, it's a major school. And that's where I fell in love with teaching. And then I taught for a year at Webster University, went back to Ailey. Then in 2014, I finally retired from full-time performing, and I returned to Webster University, where I taught as a full-time professor for 3 years. I have two children, Jordan and Layla. They are 3 and 5 years old. I have to say, this time of COVID-19 and working full-time and having two children at home is like, I definitely had to take like a moment of meditation before we started this conversation. And whenever I'm teaching on Zoom, I always warn people, you might see some children running around. They might be naked. I don't know, depending on what's happening, because I can't watch them right now. So it's always interesting how every day unfolds. But I'm very proud to be the director of the Juilliard Dance program. I think it's an amazing program. I think the faculty are outstanding. And most of all, I think the students are incredible.
Yes, they
incredible people.
They are. Wow, I mean, so much that you did. I want to go back to, your time at DTH and your time working with Mr. Mitchell, and, now you in the role as a dance educator. How do you feel that his influence, do you find that, any parallels with the things that you learned working with him, or any of those experiences, would you say kind of mirror and parallel, or anything that really resonates or stands out from your time working with DTH?
Absolutely. Oh, another picture. Prepared.
I'm pulling them out.
Mr. Mitchell's spirit lives in me always. He's someone from a very young age, and from my first years as a professional, he took great care in me and so many others who were in the company at the time. Classes were not just class. It was never like a warm up. It was actually you were learning. You were being coached.
Yes.
And I said this on a panel about a couple days ago with Dance of Harlem, that he cared about everything. Where is the placement of your fingers? Can you lift your eyes 1 more centimeter to catch I want the light to catch the glint in your eye. He taught us how to bow. He taught us how to walk. All of those small things that really create an artist, like a real high caliber artist, he cared about. And the sense of musicality was very important to him because of his time. He started as a tap dancer, and then he did sort of musical theater, and then he made his way to School of American Ballet and to New York City Ballet. And of course, the Balanchine's work is highly syncopated and off the hip, and there's a rhythm, an internal spirit and rhythm there. And I think that was also translated very well onto Black and brown bodies at Dance Theater of Harlem. A couple of things that I think about now is like the first day that I stepped in to take company class. I had never been in a room with so many beautiful brown dancers in my life. It just didn't exist anywhere else, all wearing their point shoes. It just didn't. So walking in there was like Wakanda. It was like, whoa, this is amazing. And the pride that was instilled in us from just being such a strong community of very talented dancers. I carry that with me always. I also know that, you know, Mr. Mitchell too had a very diverse company. Although, you know, there were many shades of brown, there were people from all over the world. We had Japanese dancers, we had white dancers, we had you know, Latino dancers. We had dancers from all over the world. And he used to say, I want my company to be like Noah's Ark. I want one of everything.
Right.
And really, for me, especially now as the director of a school division, I see such value in that, because everyone in the company had their time to shine. Like, everyone had their strengths, and everyone was recognized for their beauty, in one way or the other. And I find that when we see our students or our dancers in that light, then we are so much richer for that experience. And then the community of dancers is so much richer for that experience.
I agree. Yeah, that's just so true, so true. You know, I'm curious, throughout your career, was there a choreographer, choreographers, or works that you really enjoyed performing? You know, any company that you danced with, you know, what might those works have been, and who might those choreographers have been, and, you know, if there were any that really you felt brought something special out of your dance that helped you grow as an artist?
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't have to be
there are a few. Yeah, there are a few. I think of it through every kind of stage of my career, because I traversed from classical ballet to contemporary work. I can't just choose but one, but I see this picture from Serenade. And definitely Balanchine. I mean, to do Balanchine work, and Dance Theater of Harlem had so many Balanchine ballets in the rep when I joined. So I did Serenade, Apollo, Bugaku. I did Agon, Concerto Barocco, and I learned a couple. Oh, Prodigal Son, as well, and a couple more that I learned, but I didn't dance. And like I said, the musicality and the structure of the work, it just really appealed to me. Also, being a tall dancer, sometimes I was asked to do, of course, adagio things. I love putting my legs in the air and, you know, extensions and whatnot. But I was really challenged because the work was fast.
Yes.
And I love to be challenged in that way.
Yeah.
I have to say that working with Desmond and Dwight was a growing experience for me. As you know, I had trained in modern dance, I had trained in jazz when I was younger, but the way that they fused those ideas with ballet was incredible, and I think it just stretched me. And also as a partner, because, you know, Dwight Roden is a master of building duets, and it really taught me how to work with another person. You know, like seamlessly, just like let your body melt into the other person and listen to the person who you're working with. I had the chance to do Chroma by Wayne McGregor, and I did have a chance to be coached by him for some days. Nice. And that was an amazing experience. That I think the contemporary ballet aesthetic works really well for me, because it allows me to blend all my loves together. But at Ailey, I also worked with Ron Brown, who is someone that I just absolutely adore and love, and works in a way, you know, fusing the ideas of African dance that I had not done before. So, you know, I like to be stretched. Yeah. I always had the sense, because of my injuries and my autoimmune disease, that tomorrow is not, it's not promised. Yeah. Like, your next day on stage is not promised. So you might as well do the things that you know, that are going to challenge you, that are going to stretch you, and you can say, oh, I did that. I did that. Wow. Yes. I did that. Yes, I worked with Rennie Harris. I was out there with my sneakers doing my house dancing. You know, I'm from the DMV. Right. I'm from the DMV, so, you know, I'm a ballerina, but don't get it twisted. Yeah. And also, of course, doing the work of Mr. Ailey. I think one of my moments where I was like, I feel like I've arrived was I had the chance to perform the lead role in Memoria with the full company and like with the students on stage, and that was definitely an amazing moment. I see Megan. Yes.
I guess.
Maybe Megan, you were in one of those performances. I can't remember, but
Awesome.
probably in and around during that time.
So I'm curious, like as a principal dancer, what were some of the challenges that you would say that you challenges or pressures that you experienced throughout your career? Because people they see dancers in those lead parts on stage, but they don't know what always goes into it and the things that they have to do to make it look like it does on stage. What were some of the challenges maybe that you experienced?
I think I've always had a mentality that no matter what role you have on stage, that you have to do it to the best of your abilities. So I don't think that I ever approached like solo work or principal roles differently than any group role or any more like less significant role, if you will.
I love that attitude.
Yeah. Because I just wanted to honor the choreographer's work and to honor myself in the best way that I can. Like I don't believe in going on stage and like doing halfway. I don't believe in that. Like life is too short to do that. And also there are people out there in the audience who I hope to inspire or just transform their evening. If they came in with one mood, I want them leaving feeling good,
Right.
So I think the approach is not different when doing principal roles, but definitely I think maintaining your stamina for performing multiple days or multiple weeks or multiple months in a row and being looked at to hold that that energy for everyone else, and that's really about returning to why it is that you do what you do, because I think that, so many times we'll complain, oh, I'm so tired. Like, okay, I always try to shift it. As I said at the beginning of the conversation, I always try to shift it to say, like, wow, what an amazing opportunity that I get to do this Revelations for the 700th time.
Right.
Let's see what else I can find. Like, let's see what other nuggets of truth that I can find here and pull out. So no, my time on stage, it was and still remains sacred to me. So
and I think there's probably a greater joy too, and more of a greater appreciation, having, like, for you having been dancing and then you experience an injury and then you have to take a break and then you come back. I'm thinking that coming back is probably like yes, I'm back on stage. I'm doing what it is that I love again. So I think I would think there was probably a greater appreciation for the work and for the art form. I'm just thinking so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, and this is not for everyone, but I know for me that I feel like I was called to be an artist.
Yeah.
That it is my my life's purpose to do so. I consider every moment that I'm able to dance a praise dance. It's a ministry. It's showing and thanking God for the gifts that I have. So it never has felt like a chore, even though I've definitely been, tired.
Yeah.
But it's never anything that I felt like I wanted to, run away from.
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess, being that you are the director of the dance department and of Juilliard, I think you kind of said it earlier, when a young dancer comes to the audition, what are you like looking for in a dancer under your direction? And I don't know, that can be whatever it is in your mind that you see and that you look for in a dancer. What is that?
Yeah. Well, our audition, it it kind of runs like most conservatory or concert dance auditions, where we start with a ballet class, and then we do a modern dance class. We have a cut, and then we do a modern dance class, and then the dancers are able to show their solos that either they've choreographed on themselves or someone has choreographed on them. And then we do a little bit of repertory, so we can see how they pick up movement and how they're coached, and how they take in information. We do a little bit of improvisation, and then we do an interview, because I want to get to know who the dancers are.
Right.
It's important to me. So what I'm looking for, especially before the ballet class starts, I always speak to the panel of faculty for that a student understands, they have a good understanding of ballet technique, because of course we start with the ballet class and you have to come in with a fairly advanced level of ballet, but definitely not like a professional proficiency at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to, I want to make sure that we don't lose anyone that we would have wanted to see later. So I ask, like, don't specifically look at the perfect turnout, perfect extension, perfect, you know, what is perfect, you know, all of those things in terms of body shape and image. But I asked the panel of judges to look at, or faculty, not judges, to look and see if the dancer is physically, they have the physicality that we're looking for. So what I mean by that is, you know, someone can be at the bar and look picture perfect, and then come into the center and not have a strong jump, or can't get off the ground, or, you know, can't really stand on one leg.
Right.
So that for the Juilliard School is not necessarily a dancer that I'm interested in. I want someone who has a really wonderful coordinated body. And integrate can integrate many ideas at the same time. I look for dancers who are musical. I think that piece is so important, and especially because we are the Juilliard School.
Yes.
We have amazing musicians, either, you know, collaborating with us in class, or we often perform to live music. But also, I think that we are musical artists, so that part is very important. Right. I look to see who the person is. I like to get a sense of their personality, because we're a very small division, and I want to be sure that everyone understands that we are a community, that we move forward together. So, you know, if you've just pushed somebody to the side because you need more room, that's probably not going to be the thing that's going to be helpful. You know, I look to see how the dancers work with each other, how they talk with each other. So we try to incorporate that in the audition as well. And I want to see that there's something special about this dancer, that there's a spark, that there's something completely different about them. They have that intangible something that you're like, ooh, I don't know what it is, but I can't stop watching. Yeah. And sometimes it's very raw, and that's okay, because we're a school. Yeah. And our job is to train and to educate dancers. So yeah, everybody comes in at a different place in their lives and their training, and in their understanding of what they want to do upon graduation. But I just hope to give dancers the tools and the confidence as they go through the program.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's definitely it's beautiful. So I mean, I guess the last thing I want to kind of ask is, you know, what advice would you give to the dancers right now who are training and coming up during this crazy time right now, where everyone's dancing virtually at home, and, you know, some kids are getting discouraged and frustrated, and, you know, like, what kind of advice would you give them? Because you had so many waves in your career.
Yeah.
You know, but one thing I can say is that every time I would see you, whether you were taking time off or you were dancing freshly, there was always just like this positive energy that always just resonated with you, which I always respected and admired. Because I was always like, God, she could be so, you know, right now, because she's not, you know, but she's not. And she's like, hey, I'm I'm doing something else with my life, and I'm, you know, learning about me and learning about the world. And so I've always respected that about you. But
Thanks.
what did you share with?
Yeah, I know that this time is hard. It's hard for me too. But I'm always trying to remind my students that if it's a couple of months or even a year, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I know that our young dancers, they're training so hard that in most cases, like since you were little, probably you've never had more than 2 or 3 weeks without dance in your life, without going into a studio and dancing and expressing yourself in that way. And so I think that also makes it really hard because it's such a part of our daily work that not to have it in the same way and to be able to like move and express ourselves can be quite devastating.
Yeah.
But I'm here to remind you, I took 4 years off. Injured and came back in my 30s to dance in Ailey. It's okay. You know, we are resilient people. We have resilient bodies. We will bounce back. You know, and I would say, listen to your body. You should try. I don't know who's out there, but I would encourage dancers to take this time to move as much as possible. But if that means not taking a ballet class every day, that means taking a ballet class with your favorite teacher and then trying, I don't know, an African dance class,
Right.
or a hip hop class that's not as maybe comfortable for you, or taking a Gaga class. This is the time to do it because there's no, set schedule, especially now during the summer. And then I would say, if your body is telling you that it does not feel like moving today, then listen. You know, we are in an unprecedented global pandemic and in the middle of a heated political and social race war.
Yeah, we are.
It's okay. It's okay. If you feel like today, I just can't,
Right.
It's okay. These times are difficult, and as dancers, what we do is we push through. That's the nature of what we do.
Right.
We're gonna push through the pain. We're gonna plow through it all, and we're gonna get out on the other side, which I think is admirable and one of our best qualities. However, we're still human beings, and you don't know how things affect your spirit. And without that, strong spirit, it's hard to move forward in the things that you love to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Well, thank you so much, Alicia. It has been a pleasure having you as our last guest here on our HSA at Home Dance Master Series. Just such a breath of fresh air. Just ever since I met you, you always just inspired me and so many dancers and young and old of all ages and backgrounds. So you're a blessing, and you're a blessing to the arts and dance community.
Yeah.
And
thank you, Leyland, and you are as well.
Oh,
you are as well. Leading the charge.
Leading
always
with the children.
For the kids.
For the kids. It's for the kids.
No, but I just have to say that I can remember you in performances and being like,
no.
What is he doing? This guy is like amazingly talented. So I hope your students also know what it is to have such an amazing person at the front of the room in you.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Alicia, and to everyone at home. Thank you for joining us. And again, if you have children that have an interest in dancing, act, sign up for classes. We have our summer offerings online. Come check us out at HSA. Thank you again, Alicia. Always a pleasure. And
thank you.
Again soon. You are part of our HSA family.
Yes.
Tell the kids
Thank you.
I said hello.
I will.
All right. Bye. Thank you so much.